Hey, and welcome back. I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
Yo.
And you're listening to the Right Hand Drive Guys podcast. Today is episode 38. We're growing up fast.
Seriously, 38, dude.
38. That's actually how old I am.
That's nice.
Crazy. It's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about things that we love, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. JDM engines.
JDM engines.
And so we're trying to kind of keep it like engines only available in Japan for the most part.
Right.
Like we're not going to necessarily go on and on about engines that you could get here.
Right. We're not going to talk
Just too
about
broad.
KA-24 DEs.
Right, whatever
Truck
that
engines.
is. Yeah.
That's the old 240
Oh, yeah, that's
SX
right.
engine. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
so-
not going to talk about those.
And you know, a lot of these motors obviously have been talked about, and you probably have heard about most of them, but we're just going to elaborate on them.
Yeah, why not, right?
So we figured, you know, where to start, right? Where do you start when there are quite a few awesome engines, and we're not really even going to be able to hit that many of them because we kind of want to get in depth about a few.
Yeah, for sure.
So where do you think we should start?
Dude, let's start in the engine you would put in your Conjo racer. The Honda B Series.
Shoot.
The B Series.
Yes, the B Series.
Let's get into the B Series. There's quite a few variants, right?
Yes, there is, but the first and foremost, have you ever even had a B Series?
Yes, my first car I ever modified was a DA Integra.
Wow.
Stock with a B18A1.
Non-VTEC.
Non-VTEC. Yeah, non-VTEC boys out here. LS.
Yeah, that's cool though. Yeah. So, and that was the only one you ever had?
I had another DA along the line too, but yeah, never got into the
like
Honda
never had a
Super.
VTEC.
I
like...
never had a VTEC, but I had friends that would let me drive them, and
cool.
it was cool.
So you've
I was
experienced
into them.
it.
Yeah, I definitely experienced it. I was definitely into it, but
I mean,
never
like,
had one for myself.
back in the day, especially when like funds were a little tighter, right? Like VTEC was like a turbo.
Yeah,
That's how I felt.
Right,
I can't afford a turbo, but I do have VTEC.
Right, for sure. And it was like, dude, that
Yes,
like
it
that.
was so cool. Yeah, no, and
Those are the days.
Imagine how many people really did fall in love with, you know, like those motors.
Yeah.
Just on that sound.
And back in the day, that was unique too. Like the VTEC, like a lot of car companies weren't really putting anything out like that with variable valve timing, and they weren't like advertising it. And like, I feel like it's one of those things probably in the higher end sports cars and stuff like that. Maybe not even at that point, but like, it was a technology from Formula One that
they brought down
into
so cool
these Integras and Civics and like
these kind of econo cars.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. It's kind of crazy to think about how Honda did that. They like took this racing technology and put them in these like economy cars,
shit boxes.
Right. Yeah, but
kind
like,
of, you know.
Right, but like put this tech into them and like made them unique in that sense, and that's why they have such a cult following. I think is one of the reasons, at least. It's like
no, I agree. They were ahead of it, and then you saw many motors follow suit.
Right.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
After that, there's Ecotech, MyVec, like all of these different, and it's like, nah, it ain't VTEC though.
Right. It's not VTEC.
It's not.
Nothing hits like VTEC.
It's crazy. It's like, dude, when that phone rings, dog. But anyways, so there were a few B Series motors that were unique to Japan, and I personally have had a few, being the B16B from the Civic Type R.
Yes.
And so that is, you know, the 1.6 liter, of course, with a little different compression ratio at 10:8 to 1 compared to the 10:4 one that the non-Type Rs had, along with quite a few different other little, you know, differences.
Right.
So these, though, had 180 horsepower.
Yeah.
You know, nothing crazy.
That's still decent, though.
In a Civic Type R that has weight reduction and whatnot. I mean, that's sick.
I mean, my personal, like, experience with that engine, I had a buddy back in the day that he had a B16B in an EG hatchback, right?
Oh, nice.
Dude, That thing, and it was on like 14-inch Steelies. It was completely stripped out, like dog shit for suspension, like nothing crazy, but it had a B16B in it.
It had a Type R motor.
Dude, yeah, and that thing ripped, dude. Like, one night he went out racing Mustang GTs, dude, and he was walking them. Like, open header, just VTEC blaring, just like walking Mustangs.
Really?
Like, yeah.
that
I know
it's awesome.
It's not like whatever, it's a Mustang, but like, it's just a 4-cylinder Civic, open header, just like, and this kid just like just screaming, dude. Like,
yeah, I mean, I liked
crazy.
I liked the motor. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's a 1.6 liter Honda motor.
It's a screamer.
But they actually have the same block as the Integra Type R B18, where it's like X amount of millimeters taller, right? But it still has the same internal like crank and everything as a B16A. So like it's kind of like a Frankenstein. Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was, pretty cool. So of course there was that, and then speaking of the Integra, there's the JDM Integra B18,
right?
About the same lines, right? With
the Type R.
Yes, and so it was hand poured and polished,
right?
And,
right. That was a B18C, right?
Yes, that's a B18C, and so these were definitely like some of the more desirable Honda motors, right? The 16, but the 18, like everyone wanted to run the 18,
right,
because that was like the best, especially in that time range, right?
Because what did it claim for power?
That was 197.
So that's almost 20 more than the 16, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, like that's like the premium, right? It already has that extra
20
oomph that you would want to start with anyway if you're gonna, whatever, build the head and get a little bit more out of it or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, and so it is crazy though. Like these were the swaps, right? Before K Series came around.
Yeah,
these were the swaps.
Yeah, I think dude. I mean,
yeah, they still are.
I would take a B over, but now it's like
the support
it's classic,
for the K
right?
is,
like B's are like the classic now, where K's is like the new thing,
but it's not even really new,
right? The K's
kind of crazy.
It's, right,
20 years old.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. Like it's kind of crazy,
for sure.
So, but yeah, so.
But the Ks are the next generation, right?
Right, yeah.
As far as that sense.
Yeah,
once the Ks came into play, I don't think there were any Bs, especially like the ones that we're talking about, the B18Cs and the B16s. Those all ended in what, 2000?
Yeah,
2001?
Exactly. Yeah. So, right, when I fully agree, it is the new one.
Right.
It's the only one. I mean, they're still coming in this car behind us.
That old. Right,
Like this comes with the K Series. Huh? Yeah. So, I mean, that is like, it was introduced in 2001. Yeah. And, it's definitely crazy how once this K Series came out and all of that support instantly kind of like transferred to those.
Right.
Like all of the Honda guys were so excited because they finally got something new, right?
Right. Like once hybrid racing came out with that K-swap kit, like... And there's a few other companies as well that made the swap parts and stuff, but like,
yeah, and so
once it became easy,
right? Yeah, it was on.
Over.
Yeah, everybody's putting those in their EGs
because like there's Ks everywhere, right? There's Ks in Accords,
TSX,
the TSXs, the Vans. I think, well, maybe not the Vans, but the CRVs. Like all these cars have Ks, so like,
yeah, you can get the blocks, you can get the heads. You can run them right through, and so
but there are JDM Ks.
Yes, the K20A, like the high performance K20A, came in all of the JDM Civic Type R's.
Oh, right, like
starting
the
in 01.
FD2s.
Yeah, and so these came with 217 horsepower. So that's another 30 almost horsepower than the B18.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of a pretty good upgrade, right? Yeah. Like really, I mean, so beyond, that K20A, like the straight up K20A, of course there's a bunch, more like kind of sub engines that came in, like the USDM Honda Civic.
But
SIs,
the A was like kind of like the
highest.
Type R, like
Yes.
the B16, like
And
it's the same tier as
B18C.
that.
Yes, exactly. And that's of course there's so much support for these that they're going to continue to be popular. Like even after these came out, the people that wanted the tried and true, these will eventually be the tried and true.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, I think that that's kind of where we wanted to go on the Hondas, to be in the K series. There is, of course, the H and the D series that we could talk about. There were a few.
Even F series, I believe, too, right?
Right, that there were some JDM specific engines, but for the time that we have, I think we kind of touched on the ones that really made a huge difference and kind of changed the game.
Right. For sure.
And so coming off from Honda,
yep.
Where we got to go next, right? We got to hit, I mean, you know what it is.
The Nissan engines.
The Nissan.
The
At
SR
least,
and the RB, right?
Yeah, and so we'll start with the RB. And, a lot of guys know a lot about these motors. They're absolutely popular, right? They came in Skylines.
Yeah, exactly.
From the early days.
Right. They've been around since,
the HR31, right? Is the first one.
Even that old, yeah.
Because the 20 came in the HR31.
Right. But as far as like the sought after generations, they started in the R32 with the RB20 and the RB26, and kind of went on from there. They had the RB25, discontinued the 20 in the 33 models, and then the 26 stayed throughout. All
of course.
The 32, 33, 34.
Yeah.
So, like, that one is, like, the final boss, right?
Right. So, when you're starting out, like, what you got? You have an RB20, right?
Yeah, I got an RB20.
And so, those are putting down about 215 horsepower and right around 200 foot-pound of torque.
Right.
So, that's, like, pretty decent. Like, when we're comparing that, that's a K series.
Yeah.
Like, but from an older small turbo vehicle, right?
Like, and small displacement. Just because it's an inline 6, it's only a 2-liter.
Right.
So, like, it's pretty small stroke and pretty small bore.
Yeah.
So that's why they tend to be a little bit smoother, and they have that, like, smooth sound to them.
Right.
Is because of the short stroke and the small bore, and just because, like, it's that much displacement over 6 cylinders, whereas, like, whatever, a K20, it's the same displacement, but 4 cylinders.
Right.
So it's kind of wild to think about.
Right.
That's the route that they went.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a lot more here to get the same, but it's also like over 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Just there's a lot of technology that progresses in 10 years, especially during that time.
Yeah.
So, of course, RB20, so those came in, like you said, R32,
right?
Non-GTR models.
Right. The GTSTs had the turbo model, and then they had NA ones that had single cam, but we're not even gonna.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, but that is what's so cool is that Nissan did keep these RBs for Japan.
Yeah.
We didn't get these over
there.
As you mentioned earlier, we had some other models that were or other engines that were widely used, but nothing like this.
Right. We definitely did not get the RBs.
And so you move from the RB20 up to the 25, right?
Right.
So when they took away the 20 in the submodel 33s, this is what they replaced it with?
Right. On the GTSTs or the GTS 25T for the 33s and the GTTs on the 34, they had an RB25 DET, which, as you can guess, is a 2.5 liter turbo. Inline 6 still. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Tried and true engine, very reliable. You can't really mess them up unless you really try.
And so the 33s came with an RB25 DET that put out 250 horsepower and 235 foot-pounds of torque. But then in 98, when the R34 GTTs came out, they added in the Neo.
Right, which included the VVL or the variable valve timing,
right,
whatever you want to call it.
And so that actually is kind of wild because it added a 25 horsepower, getting it up to 276,
right,
up to that 276 mark, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And the Neos, like all the Nissan engines that have Neo, I forget what exactly it stands for, but it has to do with like being an economy type upgrade. Like, yes, it's new, but it's like Nissan economy.
Yeah, I got it right here. So
yeah.
It's Nissan ecology-oriented variable valve lift and timing.
Yeah, that's the Neo
guys.
VVL. So all the Neo engines, that's what it means. But like, really, it's more power.
Yeah.
Like, is what like I always saw it as. Like, oh, it's the Neo. It's the newer. It has like
more
the new tech.
Yeah.
But like, when you really look at it, I just thought that was kind of funny that it's like, it's the new economy.
Like, yeah, like it, like that's such like no. And so I mean, like, so the 34 I have has the Neo in it. I mean, it's smooth. It's like it's snappy. Like, it's a nice motor for sure. It's all stock. So like, I feel like I got a good representation of this, and it's like a pretty nice motor.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, those are bulletproof. Like you leave them alone. Yeah, they have like a turbo issue because I believe, forget what year it switched to it, but the 25s, the RB25s had a plastic wheel on the turbo, like an impeller wheel or whatever.
Oh, wow.
So if you up the boost anywhere over 10, it
breaks apart,
destroys itself. But
classic.
And it's also like the weak spot and what's prone to break, but easily upgradable if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I like all these guys getting GTTs. I think they're in good shape regardless, right? So, of course, RB20, RB25.
Yep.
And then, everybody's favorite, whatever you want to say, like the most popular motor, the RB26 DE TT.
Yes, the twin turbo 2.6 liter. It's got ITBs. It's got everything.
It's got everything, individual coil packs. It's
right.
So, what year was the R32, the first one had this?
Is it 89 or 90?
Yep. So, if you think about it, like this cast iron block engine comes out in, let's just say, 89.
Right.
Kills it for another 12 years. Like, that's wild. Like
wild.
that, you would have thought that along with, the RB25 had those upgrades.
Yeah.
You would have thought that the 26 would have gotten some sort of upgrades like that.
Yeah.
But they just kept it just hammer.
Right. There are a few small differences, like internally, like with the block design, I believe, and like there was like a crank collar issue on some of the first R32 RB26s where like the snout on the crank would wear out around the oil pump and it would lose oil pressure and blow up pretty much. And the fix was to like get a collar welded on the front of your...
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. Like, but that was the fix, and Nissan later on fixed it. And that's like why you see sometimes, if you see them for sale, they'll have short snout crank or long snout crank. Like, the long snout is what you want, but like, I don't know. It's pretty crazy to think that would ever happen to begin with, but... Yeah, I guess it does.
I mean, I guess you could see it, right? Just because the way that like they put out this motor so early, and like sometimes stuff happens,
kind of slips through the cracks,
and then I mean, these motors, of course, were like the final Skyline. Like, this was what you would want, right?
Yeah.
Like if you could get it, if that's what you were into, because they were putting out, even though it says the same base 276, horsepower.
Yeah. It was always over 300.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
they
said, to the wheel.
Yeah, they say it was more like 316, but
awesome.
Because of that whole thing, because of that whole thing, with the cars having to be this certain
the
horsepower.
gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, so, and then, of course, they had a few special editions like the RB26 N1 and the Z2, as well as the RBX GT2.
Yeah.
So there was there was a few, you know, the RBX came in the 400R, yeah. So, you know, they did do a few things with it, but not to like the general public, right? Like they were way more limited, you know, those upgrades. So yeah, I mean, that's like the RB motor. That's, you know,
definitely one of the pricier engines to swap nowadays, and pricier to build as well.
And that's the thing, because we didn't get them, right? So as opposed to the 2JZ, the 2JZ we did get.
Yeah, we got a ton of. And there's tons of tuners in America that have had their hands in 2JZs for a long time, where it's like not the same case for the RBs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, dudes were getting them shipped over, swapping them, whatever.
Right, but most of the stuff you're getting for RBs, you're having to go to Australia or from Japan to buy these parts, because those are the dudes that have been messing with them the longest.
Yeah, I know, it stinks. Like when I first got the 33, and yeah, that's the challenge, is that I'm trying to find a tuner here. I'm trying to find somebody that just is used to messing with these cars, and it's very challenging.
Yeah.
Very challenging.
You wouldn't think so, but it kind of is.
Yeah,
it
but
really is.
There are some guys that have made names for themselves, like more specifically UP Garage.
Yeah.
That like I definitely would like to send my 33 to them, because they've been getting deeper and deeper into getting them more like restored,
right,
and more to like a healthy standpoint, and not just a all power, but like a reliable power thing.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is, a lot of guys go way too quick into like the single big turbo and just want to blow it out as heavy as they can, when that's maybe not long term.
Yeah, no,
you know. So, but there are some guys now, of course, after I send my car to somebody that maybe doesn't necessarily know. But hey, that's okay. So have you heard of the 3-rotor?
Absolutely.
I've been seeing, I like, these just came. I mean, they've been popular, right? People have been building, like, but they just, like, this resurgence of the 3-rotor just came around.
Yeah, I feel like a bunch of YouTubers have gotten, like, some rotary cars here recently.
Yeah.
Or not recently, but, like, in the past few months, and, like, kind of, you're seeing them more often now, I guess.
Yeah, they're like, oh, big 3-rotor build, you know.
Yeah.
And I knew it's obviously, it's a Wankel rotary, but with the third, instead of just 2, there's 3 rotors, right? So you can create more horsepower.
And you would think that their 3-rotor would have came in their sports car, right?
Yeah.
But it would have came in the RX-7.
What did it come in?
It came in the Cosmo.
Which
is like a 2-door, like, kind of a luxury-ish, like, big car. Not a sports car at all. It didn't come with a 5-speed transmission. Nothing.
Really?
But it was a Mazda Cosmo. And like back in the day, I would always see on the forums, like, whatever, the rotary dudes talking their whatever Doritos, and they would always say, "Oh yeah, the Cosmo swap," and I'm like, "What does that even mean?"
What
like
is that?
I guess that's the engine. What it's called, the 3-rotor is called a Cosmo or whatever.
Yeah,
I thought to myself, right? I didn't get it, but then like, you see the Mazda Cosmo and you're like, what? That's
like
what
boat,
they're
right?
talking about? Yeah, it's just like, it's a strange looking car. And I don't think they made them that many years either. So they're kind of
it
rare
started in
sense.
1990, like you were saying. And it was the first ever twin turbo power car with the only 3-rotor engine ever to reach mass production.
Yeah. So like
twin turbo 3-rotor.
What the hell? So what years was it made? Did you say 91 it started?
I didn't see. I did. Oh, 90. Yes.
So this was out at the time of the FC RX-7 and the FD RX-7, and they chose not to put a twin turbo 3-rotor in that. Like, how could you not, dude? What? Yeah,
that seems like, I don't think they necessarily were thinking like that. Maybe. There must have been a drawback.
There must have been something, because, like, I don't get it. Because, like, that's just, like, a big body, like, Grand Touring type car. Like, that would compete with I would assume, the Skylines. And, like...
It weighs 3,800 pounds.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a
big
boat.
Car,
you know what I mean? Like, for what it is.
The 20B REW, the triple rotor. It was a 2-liter. That's like, yeah, you're right. That is crazy. It came with an automatic transmission.
Yeah, they didn't come
4-speed automatic.
Yeah,
that's it.
Did not come anything else.
So I mean,
they're kind of dorky looking, right? They're
yeah,
just like
yeah, I wouldn't get one, but the motor's sweet.
Yeah,
I mean, like you can tell the motor's sweet. So, I mean, this is part of the thing, right? At the time, they didn't realize maybe what they had or what they were doing, or they didn't think anybody would be able to. I don't know, but it turns out to be a monster.
Yeah,
right. It turns out to be the rotary engine worth running.
Yeah, or I mean, yeah, like people make their own 3 rotors and 4 rotors even.
Yeah,
like because all it is these
Doritos spinning around in there.
These blocks you bolt together, I guess you could say. So it doesn't take like that much. Like it wouldn't be like adding pistons onto an engine.
Right.
That sounds like almost impossible.
It just sounds crazy.
That just sounds crazy. But like it is kind of possible with rotaries, I guess you could say, because you're just bolting on.
It's like parts. It's like a clutch.
Yeah, kind of like
putting another plate in a clutch.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. So the 3 rotor, I mean, definitely probably not that cool to start, you know.
Not a cool car that it came in.
Yeah,
but like definitely a cool engine. I can't think of anything else that is so mismatched that like could have been in something else so much cooler.
Right, yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
They really messed up.
Like, I can't think of anything else. That would be like, dude, I can't even think of anything else.
And so, you know, kind of on the subject of like, you know, cars that we're not necessarily super versed on, but, you know, obviously understand that there's value throughout all of the different makes. You know, the Subaru EJ22G, okay, is a turbo dual overhead cam boxer motor that only came in those GC8 STIs, like the 22B GC8 STIs. Right. And so,
what's up with those?
Those put down, you know, of course, the 276 base horsepower.
They got Subaru with that too?
Yeah, they did. Come on. So
you know it was only making 250.
Yeah, no, yeah, for them, yeah. But really, like this, you know, the GC8 is iconic, and this was the motor before the EJ25, which we did get. This was the motor that was powering them through all of those rally challenges, all of all of those world championships that they had was this motor, and it was like the big brother to the EJ20, which came in the WRXs and stuff, and we also got that. This was like just that forbidden fruit for those Subaru guys. Like that one motor,
extra step.
Yes, that we couldn't get here.
Yeah.
But that dude shows up with the EJ22, and you're like, oh shit, that's JDM.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it would be.
Damn dog, did you get a front clip?
Oh, yeah. So we just figured we'd touch on the Subaru real quick. But, you know, before we run out of time, we absolutely wanted to hit Nissan's kind of other, I guess, I don't know, I would say like golden motor.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like that's JDM only.
Right.
You know, of course, like the VQ series.
Especially with the rear-wheel drive, it's JDM only. And that's the SR20 DETs.
Oh, yeah.
They pull a premium a week before Race Wars, let me tell you.
Yes, they really do, especially out of a set of Integras, dude.
Yeah.
You take SR20s out of Integras before Race Wars,
Where
dude.
are the engines, Ted?
40 weight, 50 weight?
Dude, tell me about it.
Damn.
So, the Nissan SR20 DET came in the 180SX, the Silvia Ks, well, all the Silvias.
S chassis, right?
All the S chassis, pretty much. And it is a 2-liter turbo.
4-cylinder.
4-cylinder, yeah. So they are very sought after, especially in like the drifting world. It's like considered God's engine, dude. Like,
so okay, I'm sorry not to interrupt you, but I was always confused. What's with the different valve cover colors? Like, do you know
the
what
red top, black top?
Yeah, like silver top, red top, black top.
So the red top comes out of S13 Silvias. Okay, so the S13 Silvias were made from, I believe they came in with the SR20 from like 92 to 94, maybe 91 to 94, something like that.
I think it's 89. But
89, 89 they had the CA. The CA18.
Oh, wow. So what's the CA18?
It's
just like a lower version?
It's a 1.8 liter. And that's actually what came in the 180SXs as well. It came in the first couple years of the Sylvia and 180SXs. So the red top came in like 91 or 92, I believe, in the Sylvias.
Yep.
And then whenever the 180SXs started getting the SR20, that was the black top.
Okay.
And I believe that was like, it might have been around the same time. It might have been like 91 to 98 was the black top SR20 DET.
Yep.
And those came out of the 180SXs. So then you also have the what they call a notch top, and that came in the S14 and S15. And the difference with that one is it had the VVL, the variable valve lift.
I see.
So
that makes sense.
They were a little bit different. And they had, throughout all the years, they had, well, from the 14 and 15 had different turbos than the 13. They all came with like T25s, small guys. But
yeah. That's kind of what it seems like.
The 15, the S15 Spec R had like the big factory turbo that you could easily do a factory upgrade type thing. You wouldn't have to update your injectors or nothing like that. But
so yeah, it kind of seems like they pretty much started out at about 200 horsepower up to those notch tops that you're talking about, up to 250 horsepower.
Yeah.
And I mean they definitely are their own animal.
Yeah.
You know, talking about the RBs and stuff.
For sure.
Though, like,
they're very different. They have
different. Like, it's crazy. Yeah. Just even the sound, the snappiness, the response. Like the RB is much more like refined and smooth, and I feel like the SR is like just like a bat out of hell. Like it's this like crazy raw like engine.
Yeah, for sure. And they have their own like quirks about them. Like they have rocker arms that tend to go bad, and hydraulic lifters that, you know, go bad over time, that, you know, kind of need maintenance if you're going to be beating on the car all the time.
Yeah.
But you know, if you take care of it, like they'll take care of you. There's plenty of 400 horsepower SRs out there that take a beating, and, you know, as long as you're kind of doing your maintenance and keeping everything in check, they're not that bad. So
SR20 is not that bad, this guy says. So
yeah,
okay. So what's your favorite JDM only motor?
Ooh.
What's your favorite?
Well, of course an RB, but I don't know which one. Like, I like the 20, but that's only because I've had them for a while. I had one in my Skyline, and then whenever I had an S13 back in the day, that was my first engine swap in my car that I've ever did, was an RB20 in my S13. So definitely have love for those, but I would like a 25. I think a 26 would be sick in my sedan.
Well, yeah,
you know
of
what
course.
I mean? But like,
yeah,
it's like that's my favorite because I got it, but also, you know, I'm just gonna say the RB series period is probably my favorite. What about yours?
I'm gonna surprise you and say I really kind of think the SR is like
just like the noises, huh?
No, I think that the fact that it was one motor with multiple like kind of revisions, but stayed itself that whole time, as opposed to, and I mean, granted, we're not talking about this motor being in as many variants as the RB, so I'm sure the R&D on it didn't go as far because it's just in the S chassis, you know, but I just think, like, dude, I've seen these dudes beating the living piss out of these SRs for 8 hours straight, coming on and off the track, and these things powering some of the nastiest drift cars. Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure they got their issues, but like, to me, there's something about a 4-cylinder that will keep up with a 6-cylinder that just, like, I don't know. I just think that's sick. Like, it winds up higher, it rips harder, and yeah, dude, it's like a raw little, like, it's like nasty.
They make some cool noises, and like, they definitely. Yeah,
I mean, I like my RB. Don't get me wrong. I love the smoothness. I love like that sound and that progression of sound, like as it goes up through the RPMs. But yeah, this car back here kind of changed my thought on the SRs because I'd always heard about the swaps. I'd always heard, especially back in the day, how in demand they were. Yeah. But I never really understood. And now I can kind of see, like, yeah, you can make them work for you. They'll work hard.
Yeah, dude, they'll rip. Like, yeah, like I said, back in the day, I mean, 400 horsepower SRs. Right. That was.
And that was on that was the ticket tech too.
Yeah, that was old tech. That was, GT series turbos, not even GTX.
Right. Yeah.
Just old tech, not even standalones, still using chipped ECUs and stuff like that.
We're definitely not Nissan guys. Absolutely not. Everything that we do every episode turns down into like a Nissan thing. Right. But that's all right. We're doing our best, trying to diversify a little bit. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. We definitely appreciate you listening. Make sure to find us on YouTube and subscribe. Hit us up on IG at RHDGUIS. We got some new merch on the website, RHDGUIS.com. Until next time, episode 38, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.